As you walk through the valley of the shadow of hell, you will realize that there is something ahead. Something that lurks behind the dark veil. A veil that is beyond our own comprehension. Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void
Horror Podcast.
That's right. Today, we have a special guest with us. It is none other than the inventor of Ultra Glide lubricant. Welcome to the podcast, TryHard. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing okay. I'm kind of nursing an injury from all that lubricant that I have just laying around my house. I fell down the front patio steps and still recovering, but thank you for asking.
Yeah, no problem. No, guys, of course, we have TryHard. If some of you have been watching some of the streams or been watching any of the videos or anything like that in the Discord, you'll know they've been hanging out with a new friend here named TryHard Heroes. He's a YouTuber and also a Twitch streamer, and just a fucking fun motherfucker that I've met here in the past couple of weeks. So welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to getting into some spooky stuff and talking about weird things that are borderline bannerific. So.
Stuff we can't get away with on Twitch.
Yeah, I know. It sucks ass.
Yeah, so guys, we'll definitely have some of the links down here below to his Twitch and YouTube, of course. You should check it out. But if you guys enjoy my brand of humor, you'll probably enjoy his because he's pretty off the top too. So today, guys, we're also going to be doing a GravePlot. So for those of you who do not know what the fuck GravePlots is, it's kind of like a creative thing that we do on this podcast every 5 weeks where we pull a name out of a crystal skull with diamond eyes of fake movie titles that we put into the skull, and then we pull it out and make up basically the entire story of a movie in about 45 minutes to an hour as best we can. So we're gonna be throwing fucking TryHard in the deep end, which I think you'll do good at, actually.
I thrive, actually. When I was younger, true story, my uncle was sick and tired of me not knowing how to swim, so he did throw me in the deep end, and I almost drowned. So
mine actually held me underwater until I couldn't breathe, and I had to go to the hospital.
Oh God. Sweet. So we have happy childhood stories.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. That never really happened, but it just sounded cool.
I'm dead serious.
That's terrible, dude.
That's the best part. I like the fact that people can't tell when I'm joking or serious. They didn't never know.
That's because you're always joking. That's why.
Oh, it's great, right? Yeah.
But yeah, guys. So we just got done doing a video that's going to be coming out in the future. Can we even talk about what it is, or?
Probably not. Let's keep it a secret because I think there's a lot of people looking forward to what that's going to be.
I'll share it with you guys when it airs.
Yeah.
Well, this week, by the way, guys, we usually do a horror shot, a themed shot, based on the movie we're watching or whatever subject we're doing that week. And because we don't know what the fucking name of the movie is going to be this week, we're not going to be doing a horror shot. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into GravePlots
right now.
All right, guys, so now we're going to be pulling from I would let you pull this, by the way, from the crystal skull with diamond eyes that we legitimately have, and it costs billions of dollars and includes time travel to be able to acquire this skull. But I'm going to pull it for you. You just tell me when. Oh, yeah. You like that?
Shuffling. Keep your hand in there.
Okay, all right, here.
Keep it deep in there. Yeah. And I'm almost there. I'm almost there. And pull it.
All right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should do this one because I kind of threw it in there just to be funny.
What is it?
Oh my God.
What is it?
Puddin Lips.
Puddin Lips. Puddin Lips. You know what? We could work with that.
I mean, we definitely could because we're fucking sick fucks, but like,
yeah.
I mean, that's pretty funny, but
I think that's hilarious.
that's a trolly one, I think.
Well, we could make that one terrifying. We could run with that and do something.
You could
really
go anywhere really with it.
Yeah, there's
maybe it's like I think I know what we could do because like, what if it's just like a kid that's like, it's as a child, something really bad happened and he was eating pudding and he had pudding on his lips when he was like, you know what I mean?
Where my brain was going is I was thinking Puddin Lips is in more of like maybe a curse or a disease or a virus, maybe a curse though.
Oh my God.
It's a kissing curse though, right? So when one person kisses another person, it passes it on. It doesn't show itself right away. And it gets misdiagnosed as perhaps maybe herpes or something to begin with. But over time, their muscular tissue inside their lips starts to liquefy and they start to lose the use of their mouth, which again, keeps being misdiagnosed over and over. But this is a disease that, like I said, incubates over a period. So it spreads and it spreads through the most, kissy people, the most prolific people. And, it doesn't just have an effect on the mouth. Is that there's even like, let's just say like a girl like went down on a dude. And so his wiener, it's the same thing happening to his wiener. And like, it's this whole thing that spreads. And over time, their mouth will dissolve, but it doesn't stop there. It becomes a flesh-eating virus almost.
Good God.
That starts to dissolve the rest of them.
Okay, well, here's what I'm thinking though, because like the kissing disease maybe like because like are you really gonna go fucking suck on the lips of somebody that has like fucking Jello pudding pop on their mouth
right off the bat? You wouldn't think, oh, those are some nice pudding pops on these like fucking like diseased pockmarks. But no, it would just be like this like, really attractive girl, beautiful, everything and she's like, hey, what's up? And you're like, oh, not much. I'm just having a drink. And she's like, oh, right on. And it just kind of spreads, and you get to talk to her that night. She's actually amazing. You're sitting at this booth, and maybe a little pecks. It's not like you're fingering each other, but you just peck, and it's not a big deal. And at the end of the night, you say, hey, can I call you? She goes, yeah, absolutely. But little do you know, a few weeks before at that same club, she met some other dude that she kissed, and then that guy actually ended up as a goof, fucking kissing a buddy. You know what I mean? And like it just keeps spreading. And the thing is that this is the kicker: is that those people cannot warn anyone because the effect not only renders them incapable of speaking because it starts to corrode their mouth, working its way back, but maybe it has a neurological effect as well.
Okay, what about this though? What about this? Like, I like where you're going with that, but then like, how do you coerce somebody to kiss you? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Just like,
but you don't know it's there. You know what I mean? Like, it's like whatever.
What if it doesn't like it has a delayed effect that you start to get puddin lips later on, and some like one person like spreads it to everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a wildfire, and then there has to be like a catalyst,
right? And then all of a sudden, people start showing up with puddin
lips.
Fucking ridiculous.
And like, but it'll be called something. It'll be called something like oral tuberculitis or something. But the nickname that people call it is like, oh, puddin lips. Like, oh, you got puddin lips. Get out of here. You're not welcome here. You know what I mean?
The street slang.
You become almost like a leper, like a modern day leper.
And your lips just pus.
Yeah, your lips are just fucking like missing after a while. You just see teeth, but the gums are starting to rot too in the tongue, in the throat, in the cheeks, and it starts working its way back until their whole skull, and they'll die from an infection. Okay,
so now how do people? Well, I mean, I like this, but I feel like we need to have some like murdery kind of stuff too. So it's like, okay, how do we spin that in there?
Murdery. Well, maybe along the lines of.
See, for me, it's hard because like I've come up with so many different movies where like shit outbreaks or like whatever. So I like kind of don't want to traipse over my own shit. But go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking that we could go in the direction where it is a sort of outbreak that people become aware of it. It's called puddin lips, but there's a extreme extremist group, because Puddin Lips, once it gets to the point that it starts rotting the flesh on surrounding areas, it becomes highly contagious. And this extremist group believes that they have to eradicate everyone, but not just eradicate them because they don't want to handle them too much and risk catching Puddin Lips. They will actually torch people, like burn people alive.
Okay.
And there's like, it's almost like a Holocaust situation where like maybe like, you know, there's this group that are going house to house, and there's this couple who happen to have Puddin Lips, you know, and they've kept their daughter kind of quarantined. So she definitely doesn't have it, right? She's like a 16-year-old girl, you know, and this couple, the husband has progressed stages. The wife, because he cheated on her with his secretary who happened to contract it from her boyfriend, they were both cheaters. And he gave it to his wife. It's this whole thing, but they stay locked in their homes because they're afraid, because this extremist group has taken over law enforcement, everything. It has become the new norm that you basically will torch people's homes, like with them in it. And it's this extreme, horrible way to die. And they're trying to protect their daughter. And just imagine the terror of, like, say this group. You see them all outside. They have like makeshift flamethrowers and fucking, like, you know,
they're like the flame boys or whatever. Like they fucking
they have like gas masks and shit.
And you know what? It would be also a really good kind of spin on this too, is that there's people who have it and are infected by it and worship it as a way to, like, accept God into their fucking, you know, into the world. And that
what if those people aren't even, like, their faces are rotting and everything's rotting, but they seem to be unaffected by it because their belief makes them almost immune.
Right. Like, I feel like even they're falling apart and everything, but they embrace it. And they're like kind of like a cult in a way, which, you know, is like trying to smear their stuff on people's faces. So, like,
they're trying to spread it around because they see it as a gift, like a blessing. You know, the nickname they can be given is like chatterers. And the reason they're called that is because they're missing their lips. So you can just see their teeth like skulls. Their teeth chatter. Right. And like it'd be like a thing that they're called. Like, and like, and like I can imagine like one scenario could be like revolving around that family I was talking about. And these people are beating on the door and they're trying to sneak their daughter out the back. And then you see this horde of people are actually already at the back, like waiting for them. And like they basically see their daughter get torched in front of them before they know they're next. It's this horrific cerebral experience where do
you think the story should, like, be surrounded around this family? And like,
no, I think the family should be the intro sequence to show how bad things have gotten.
Okay.
Perhaps. But like it happens over time. Like you'll have like news segments like on TV and stuff, like clips of that. Very Romero-esque, you know what I mean? That's like showing how this progressed. Like first it you know, it's like, oh, you know, teens are getting, you know, this sexually transmitted disease by way of kissing, and, you know, like things like that. And then, like, you know, and then it progresses and saying, you know, what was once thought to be simply a herpes simplex B outbreak, it turns out actually it might be a new form of plague.
Right.
Or after 6, you know, things like that. And like it keeps continuing on, and you know, it's staticky. And then, you know, it shows that whole thing. Newspaper clippings fucking has clips of people riding. There's like clips of people who are dead lying there with rotting bodies from the effects that people are like filming the corpses, like a proof video.
Right.
And like eventually it fades out, the credits, boom. And then you have the home, and you can see, like, you see his window, you know, the windows have the shades and they're like drop down. You see a man's eye looking out, but it's kind of bloodshot. Right. And then the camera pans inside and you can see the side of his face, and he looks relatively normal, and he goes, okay, I think they're gone. He turns to his wife, and then you see her face is looking pretty bad, but then the camera pans back to him, and his right side of his face that was hidden to begin with is corroded away.
You know what I think we should do too is so like the intro thing, I like what you're talking about. Like we do the family and everything like that, but I think it'll be like 30 days earlier. You know what I mean? Like a month earlier. Totally. And then like we could show like the way I would do it if I was going to make a movie or something like that, it was pay a lot of attention to hands and mouths. And so like the camera would always be watching people drink uncomfortably.
Oh, yeah.
So you know what I mean? Kind of like to establish that, kind of like they did in the movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it was like Outbreak. It was like this. It was like Dustin Hoffman or whatever. Like they had the monkey and.
I think I might have.
It's pretty old. It was like from the 90s or some shit like that. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I remember one that was like started from a monkey virus. I don't know. Either way, whatever. I know what you're talking about. At any rate,
right. And I think it would be kind of cool, just like to like if there was a trailer, you would do it like an Outbreak, so people already know it's like an Outbreak movie. So you're just kind of like filling in the pockets to build up to the break,
foot to drop, kind of thing.
Right.
Like you want to cause the build up, the tension.
Right. And I think it'd be kind of interesting to have like at least 2 or 3 perspectives before it kicks off, and then you just focally stay on one person, or maybe those 3 separate people meet up at or 3 separate groups.
Yeah, totally. Where it's like all it's like the stories are starting from separate branches, but they all intersect at some point in some way.
Like in the second act or something.
Yeah, like maybe that 16-year-old girl who gets torched in the backyard, she gets torched pretty bad, but she still survives, but her family are dead. She kind of like loses consciousness, she comes to, and she's like, scavenging, like, trying to find her way to like treat her wound. She's in so much fucking pain, and that's the beginning of her story. It's like so brutal and fucked.
She should be like in her 20s or something like that, and maybe she's celebrating something at a bar.
Yeah, totally. Like, yeah, she's like a bit older. Like, yeah, totally.
Right. She's like, she goes out and has drinks with her girls and like fucking goes out and like, you just start to see all these like things. Maybe in the background, people are getting sick, but you don't really notice it. It's not like they put a big point on it.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, he's drunk, or something like that.
It's such a passive thing. It's like you don't even notice the progression of things.
Maybe there's like a homeless guy outside.
Totally.
Like who's got it real bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's just sitting there, and she's like, her friend's like, ew, God, like as they walk by him or something. You know what I mean? As they're heading to the club.
It'd be funny. What'd be funny is if like they're like drunk and leaving the club, and like they're walking over some trash in like an alleyway or something like that, and like this homeless guy. And I mean, I'm not trying to like make fun of homeless or anything, but
no,
like,
whatever, no, it's fine.
What if like he's sitting there laying there and he's really sick, and you kind of see him there, and he's like around a bunch of trash, and like these drunk people come out, and one of them steps on his head, and it kind of pops open like a Cadbury egg.
Yeah, or like the skin scrapes off and like reveals the bone and the fat underneath.
But they don't even notice it. Like it just spills out for the viewer. But exactly. those people don't know, to just kind of show
they're
you.
They're too drunk and they're just stumbling home. They don't realize they just scraped off a chunk of this guy's face.
They're like, I stepped on like rotten cabbage or something, bro.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's fucking weird, man. It's just like I was walking around. Anyway, I'm fucking drunk, dude. What the fuck did I just step in?
It's really just a Cadbury egg, man. No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, yeah, no, I love that idea. And like, and also I'm thinking, so have you ever heard, it's been used in a few thrillers, I think.
Which?
It's a type of sound effect. It's not like a music track per se. It is like the Tibetan singing bowls.
Right.
It's like that, but it's a higher pitched, more sour note, and it rings out. It's like this. Like really awkward, but it's high pitched. That would be amazing.
It's where you rub the outside of the bowl, right? Like with this thing, and it starts to make
but it's like it's much more like I can't remember how they make it, but it's a very sour sounding note, but it's high pitched and it trails out. And if you have a nice fade on that, that would be a really good sound to build up to, like, say that, for instance, we have this one portion, like maybe where someone notices someone at, let's say it's a nurse. Okay. She's at a hospital or something. This is very stereotypical. We shouldn't use this, but just an idea where she sees someone like, slumped over in this waiting room, and there's one woman, she gets up and she's screaming and she's saying, there's something wrong with him, something wrong. And the nurse is like, okay, kind of floundering, like all these people seem to be kind of like, worried and looking at this guy. And then she goes and looks over, and he kind of lifts his head slightly, and you can see he's got so bad portions of his eyelids are actually missing on his face. And but then as she's approaching, before you even see his face, that's when you hear that kind of building up kind of thing. And then as he lifts his head up, that, that sound amplifies this stress. It's like an infrasound. Infrasound?
Right. No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, totally. It's sort of like that kind of idea. And like, not that necessarily, but it's almost like that introduction scene where it's like you start to realize how bad things are fucking getting. And what
if it's not just for the viewer, but maybe people who are infected actually hear that, and the cultist people who believe in the infection as a way of God communicating with them, that's God talking to them when they hear that noise.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean?
Man.
Like, that's kind of interesting.
That's really cool. And it's like, we can even have it like in the idea that like that sound emitted is, it can be explained by two ways. Either it's like the voice of whatever is causing it echoing in their heads. They think it's God, or maybe it's like the cilia of their ear corroding from the disease, but like they don't know. You know what I mean? Like it could be either or. And that kind of leaves the viewers guessing and like not knowing just as much as the people experiencing it. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. And I also thought of another way that someone could contract something too. Is like just like I always think it's kind of interesting to add in like modern shit a little bit. Like if I were to do a movie, like I don't like it when they like kind of like force it down your throat. But like little subtle things like maybe someone's on their phone and they spit on it or something, you know what I mean? And they're like looking through their phone and then when that person goes to bed that night drunk, they lay on it and just stupid shit like that,
very subtle things.
Right. Cause like infection, if you're thinking about it that way, that's literally like, if it's airborne, well, fuck, everything's fucked at that point. But
and there's like, what point is there for a story if it's airborne?
Right. It's too
that only
quick.
works if the movie is revolving, or the story, the script is revolving around the characters being stranded somewhere and they can't escape because the air is polluted itself.
Right.
And like that could be a very psychological thriller, but obviously not thematic with what we're talking about.
They've made movies work that do that, but it is a lot of red tape.
It is. It's a lot of very minimalistic filming too. It's like you have like a bunker situation and like the same concurrent characters, and you never really have to introduce new ones because the outside world is fucked.
Right.
So yeah, but this,
let's think about the characters then. So we got a girl, and should she be with anybody, and she's in her 20s, she drinks, she's at a celebration.
Let's say after the infection, did she get infected, or is this the girl?
Well, this is just like we're just initially introducing three groups of people. It could be one girl.
What if that girl, she gets burnt really badly after the whole scenario with her parents? Okay.
Well, this would be pre-burnt.
Yeah, pre-burnt. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying like afterwards, we could introduce a character that actually probably gets fucked off, like killed pretty fast, or leaves or whatever. But I'm thinking she has an old neighbor, like he's actually a war vet, and his son, or no, say his daughter passed away from some kind of cancer that killed her, and this man has a very fatherly, like he has to take care of people, and when he sees her outside and like he's like sees what happened, he's waits for the crowd to dissipate, and he's like staring at he's gonna go and try to bury them because they're his neighbors and he cares about them. And as he goes out, he starts moving the mother, and as he moves her body back to reveal the daughter, who's been scorched pretty badly but not that bad, he sees that she's moving a little bit. Her eyes are still kind of flickering. He's like, oh, she's alive. So he's the one who nurses her back to health. But that's just what I'm thinking afterwards. But yes, prior
what's a name that you can think of, just so we can have reference for that girl?
Well, I'm a stickler when it comes to names in movies because it's like I feel like you should have a lot of very normal names, but then one not normal name to kind of like make it believable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like everyone has like weird fucking names like Lathander and shit. After a while, you're like, wait, what the fuck is this? But like I'm thinking like, if we have like, she'll be like, let's say her name could be Sherise, but her family calls her Cher or something. Like something like that. Like that's just an idea. But then like the other characters we introduce will have pretty mundane names. Is the idea? And
I was also like, I got a picture of this like for later. Like I do like the idea that she's partially burned, but I also like in my mind, and this sounds fucked up, but this is just how creative process works, I guess.
Yeah, no, let's go, man.
Is like I picture her somehow getting away from or coming home, and they've got their family lined up outside, and then just literally torturing them, and like one of them is like really enjoying it, one of the bad guys, you know what I mean, like too much.
That could work. That actually makes it better too. And maybe they're like lining the family as well as some of the neighbors up against a garage door of her family's home.
Like one of them tries to run, they shoot it and burn it.
Shoot it. But yeah, totally. And like, it could be a very like, maybe she's she's coming home for like her birthday kind of thing. Like she's already turned 20 or whatever the legal age is to drink in America, because America's what the shit,
It's 21,
21. So say she's just turned 21. She went out drinking with her friends the night before, blah blah. Woke up kind of hungover, but she's like, oh, she's in town. She actually has been away at college, or something like that. Let's say she's been away studying something or whatever, working somewhere, whatever. But then she has to come home to see all of her friends again and her family. So she decides, well, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends the night before, and I'm gonna go see my family the day after.
That's
but the bizarre thing is she's made the plans with her family like maybe a few months prior, but she hasn't heard from them since. So it's
maybe
kind of
they've been estranged a little bit, not a whole bunch. And then she's coming home from college, or she's like
to reconnect,
right?
And that's why it's so much more traumatic seeing them murdered horribly in front of her.
Right. And like, instead of her, like, there's a party that night and she's headed over to her parents' house or her family's house, and she gets a call on the way over there, and she's dreading going over there anywhere. And they're like, hey, we're going out for drinks. I heard you're coming in town. And that's when she goes out instead of helping the family. Right.
Procrastinates because it's stressful for her. And then after that night, that's when she decides, okay, I'm going to bite it. I'm going to go see them. And on her way there, a lot of fucked up shit is happening constantly. She doesn't realize the shift that has taken place slowly, that this is when the extremist group has just started, so it's not like a well-known thing. It's just in that area for now, or maybe it's and she has no idea. And so she's just walking along, and then she'll maybe see, like, let's say she'll see this dog that's just walking along with its leash just dragging behind it, and the dog has a little bit of blood on it, and she's like, what the hell? And the dog sees her and just keeps walking. So she's like, okay, and she keeps walking. She has her bike with her, and she's like pushing it because she wasn't staying that far away from her parents to begin with. She's pushing her bike. She sees that dog. Okay, that's kind of weird. Keeps going, and she's like, she stops and she realizes there's no cars driving around, and then she's like, okay, keeps pushing. It's pretty quiet, and then she sees that this front window of a house she's passing. She doesn't see who's behind it, but she sees the curtain being drawn very readily, very hastily. And it's just a bunch of weird, ominous things like that are not overtly, not overtly negative, but very ominous.
And you could have like a scream in the background, like in the distance.
Yeah, like
stuff like that, like some gunfire.
Screaming. Yeah, and she starts like pushing her bike a little faster, and like she's like, okay, I need to start moving, and that's when she's like, she gets on her bike and she realizes, oh, my parents, and she starts biking, and that's when she sees the crowd of people, and she's like, oh God, and hides, and that's when she sees what is taking place, and she sees her dad, and she knows it's her dad because of his clothes that she recognizes, but his face is a little fucked from the disease, from the Puddin Lips,
We're getting so serious, and then you say Puddin Lips, and I was just like,
Puddin Lips. Yeah, I know. That's the funny thing, right? But like, that's the slang. That's going around. Mush lips is another one they could go with.
I like Puddin Lips.
Puddin Lips is funny.
So how about this? So so she happens upon them and notices something's wrong, and then hides in the bushes out back or something, and tries to like comes around, and she's just like, oh my God. And she knows that she's in a predicament where if she shows up, maybe her dad sees her and then tells the mom to run or something like that, and then the mom gets gunned down, and and then the dad
immediately set on fire, like
right,
the torches.
And then like the dad and their like 13-year-old daughter are like embracing as they fucking torch the shit out of him.
Oh yeah, totally.
And it's like this like really heavy moment for her, and have
it be very like grim and grisly in the sense that like, because in other movies where someone gets torched and they're hugging each other, they're just like they die in that embrace, but that isn't the natural reaction of people. They panic. So you have like, say, the younger daughter, she's on fire, she's panicking, she's trying to run, but her dad's holding her by the arm hard because he's also panicking, and they both are having this panicked reaction, and they're it's almost as if they're wrestling with each other while on fire, and these guys just keep hitting them with the flame over and over and over, and that's when they kind of succumb to their wounds, and the front lawn is like a bit is caught on a little bit of fire, not immense, but enough from the residual flames from their bodies, and you can see their death throes. It's like really brutal, like I'm talking visceral. You know what I mean?
Well, seeing a child burn is pretty fucking crazy.
Totally, but I'm saying like films never go like Bone Tomahawk,
right?
Visceral and dragged across concrete, and it's like that same kind of idea where it's like
yet, but
yeah, well, it's the same idea that violence is not pretty, it's horrible, it's panicked, it's death is never you can never die with dignity. What Anton LaVey say? He said death is the great equalizer, and you can never die with dignity. He said, however, some people leave a prettier corpse than others, and so ultimately, I believe that death is always terrible. So whenever it is displayed in within the confines of this story, it's keeping it in line with, you are dreading seeing another death. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want the people watching. You want to actually, because there's some people out there who are so desensitized, and they find it so. There's people who watch horror movies and just laugh because of how corny they are.
Right,
like,
of course. Yeah.
Human skull is such a hard thing to actually crack. Like, really, it's hard. And there's movies where people are like stabbing someone through the brain with a chopstick. You're like, oh, come on, And it's like, but then you have like the more visceral stuff, and it's like you want those same people who have gotten so used to these horror movies and are always laughing about these deaths and things like that. You want to make them question and kind of feel sick a little bit. Like, I don't really want to. And like, those who are willing to muscle through that story are going to be that much more impacted by it. They may not want to watch it again because of how brutal it is, but it drives that fucking point home. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that tension, that panic, and that, like, I just picture her like covering her own mouth, trying not to scream.
Totally, yeah.
And like just
she's like
tears
trying to
coming
run,
down her eyes.
And her dad's grabbing at her, trying to keep her near him because it's this horrible, scary situation.
Oh, you mean the little
like,
girl? The
little girl. I'm saying she's like trying to run because her body is reacting to the pain. Like, I gotta get away.
Maybe they torch her first and then torch him right after.
Totally. Like, it's horrible. Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like,
it's pretty crazy.
I personally don't like violence and things like that, but I feel like it is the job of someone who is a artist, like a filmmaker or anything of that matter. It is their job to challenge their audience.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, horror's always
challenge
done that.
them. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's always done that. Always broken new ground. And I feel like, utilizing, like, getting, just because it's ugly to look at doesn't mean you don't include it. Like, you want to make this horrible and to really draw the trauma from the experience. Like, this is the kind of movie that, they say on a movie, like, oh, don't let small children watch this. A lot of the times those kids will watch it and be fine. You want this movie to mean it, but that's
and nothing does it better than setting a child aflame.
Set a child on fire, have her panic, have her dad trying to hold on to her. They set him on fire, and he's like, lets go of her. She runs. They're torching her at the same time as he falls down. They keep torching her. You're screaming. It's horrible, but the screams are being drowned out by the flames. And meanwhile, this girl, Sherise, she's over around the side of this fucking wooden fence, and she drops her bike because she's seeing this happening in front of her. It is the most traumatic, horrible thing ever to witness.
Right.
And these people are not only doing it, but they're enjoying it.
Surely you guys realize we can't just let you run and go. Jessica, get out of here. Where the fuck are you going?
And she's never even got to like make up for whatever rift was between them, so it's even
maybe it's because she wanted to, instead of working for her dad's company, she wanted to go to school or something, and there was like this big weird awkward thing or something like that. But like, these people, them enjoying it builds that revenge porn factor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I love revenge porn.
Well, it's like the John Wick, where they had to kill the puppy in order to fucking make you feel fucking glorious about shooting every motherfucker in the head relentlessly.
Like, oh yes, totally. Yeah.
You're like rubbing your nipples.
Billy.
The fucking Apex Legends character who's just like,
I think we need to come up with another character or another, maybe two people that would be together. Because she's kind of separately, and she'll have to end up going somewhere else. And the horror of this movie is really the cult and the humanity lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
by the people who want to take fucking the matters into their own hand.
Yes.
Which, because like that would happen anyway, because the government would fall apart. Like there would be no orders or anything.
There would be massive destabilization. People would it'd be chaos, and people would have to take extreme measures because they're scared. But obviously, like in any situation, when people have to take a situation of authority, especially when it comes to authority over people's mortality and their lives,
right?
You're going to have people who are there just because they enjoy it. Just like in the military, you're going to have people people who are there to serve their country or to protect their families or whatever noble reason they may have. But then you have some people there who just want to kill somebody. And I feel like that's kind of, there's a dividing line when it comes to these extremist group. Like there's a few who you can see are troubled by it, but they're doing it because they want to protect themselves and their families. Right. But then there's a few among them that are just like sick fucks.
Right. I mean? Like this is the moment that they've been waiting for, just to be able to do weird, fucked up shit.
Totally.
Or they're just twisted by the overwhelming like destruction of everything that they know, that they just go mad.
I know it'd be unorthodox too in this whole situation is there might be a young man who's like, his dad is like part of this extremist group, and his dad's kind of like has no remorse, no pity, and this young man in this group is one of the people whose stories are being followed. Like, what if?
So that's
instead of it being just a big group of survivors, or whatever, what if it follows the story of like one girl who is a survivor who's just has to make it through this horrible experience, but then it also follows, let's say, a young man who is in the middle of the violence, like is part of the violence. And then you have like, maybe even follow another person who is, their family is highly religious and very reclusive, and they are the ones who are slowly creating this cult movement or something like that. Well, you know what I mean? Like,
do you remember that movie that, what's his name? He passed away. He was in that fucking Twister movie. Game over, man. Game over. Why can't I think of his name? Bill Paxton.
Yeah, there you go.
Bill Paxton did a movie, I think it was called Frailty, where he was kind of like this culty kind of leader. And like part of him was like, you believed him, and he thought his family were like demons or something like that. So you could kind of have, I don't mean to rip from that necessarily. I just mean the dichotomy of that, gray area where, maybe the son's not on board right away, or he is on board until he isn't. Do you know what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah. No, I think so completely. That makes a lot of sense.
So what do we call him?
You think of this one, man.
I always think of stupid fucking regular names because I don't want to be offensive, like
Lathander.
Yeah, Lathander. There you go.
Lathander.
How about Jamiroquai? I'm just kidding.
I love his music.
Hey, something else that we could also do, by the way, is you can also, if you have like a character in mind or like an actor that, that you can think of, it also helps paint the picture for everybody else. So,
I'm thinking the girl who is actually right off the bat, I think would be great for it because she has an awesome fear reaction when it comes to her acting. Mm-hmm. For Sherise would be Ellen Page.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Ellen Page, she is such an average girl and she's so realistic, I guess you could say. She is not like Megan Fox, like, strutting around with her fucking Botox, you know what I mean? And I feel like Ellen Page would make a really good Sherise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's think about this other name. How about, I'm trying to think of a more Southern-ish kind of sounding name.
Abe or,
that's not a bad name. We'll just do
Jeremiah. Jeremiah.
Ooh, Jeremiah's biblical.
Yeah, exactly. And his family are like borderline religious, and they call him Jerry for short.
All right, Jeremiah. Well, maybe they wouldn't because they'd be like, "That's your Christian name,"
Jeremiah, do what a man does, and have to have him do these horrible things.
Jeremiah Elton passed over, whatever the fuck his name is. So
Jeremiah Elton Megan Johnson. You better do your job.
We call him Jamiroquai for short. He does dancing and singing. All right.
He wears all sorts of neat hats.
I can't even remember barely anything about him other than him like walking on a treadmill or something.
Let you dance. Yeah, some good stuff.
So we're gonna come up. I think we should do two other people, but I think this should be older.
I think so too.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it could be like an old couple.
Yeah, like I'm thinking, and again, unorthodox. You know what I mean? Like these characters are believable and real looking. Like Jeremiah could be a scrawny. You know what I mean? Like he's not really like he's always kind of a loser, and his dad's always kind of like expecting him to be this like jockey, fucking kind of like man's man. And then like this old couple, we could have them be like a ma and pa. Like in fact, these old people used to grow medicinal marijuana because one of them has glaucoma, and like and the old lady, she's a little bit bigger, and she wears her glasses, and she has like, she's very, very normal little, like, she's not an old lady, but she's like in her, let's say she's like in her 50s, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And her husband is a bit older than her, and he's got, let's say, like early onset dementia or something like that. And
what if it's,
she has to take care of him?
I'm thinking of a couple people in my mind. Have you ever seen the movie Demon Knight?
No.
You've never seen Demon Knight? Oh, you
never seen
watch
Demon
that.
Knight.
It's got Billy Zane in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's really fucking good. Have you ever heard of a movie called Gothica?
Gothica, I've heard of. Haven't seen it, I don't think.
There's an actor by the name of Charles Dutton.
Okay, let's see. Charles Dutton. Okay, Charles Dutton. Totally. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like him and his wife would be the lady from Demon Knight, which I'm going to type in and find out her name right now, because she has this part where she fucking like flicks off the demon and he had already cut off her hand. Okay. Oh, CCH Pounder.
CCH Pounder?
Yeah, I feel like these two.
Oh, yeah. Yes, him and her and Dutton would be great.
Yes.
Yes, Pounder and Dutton would be a great older couple, and absolutely.
Yeah, because there's a part in Demon Knight where she's like, they wrap her arm up after she flicks him off, and she's like drinking vodka like crazy, and they're like, hey, are you okay? Do you want some painkillers? She's like, nah, it's cool. The vodka's kicking in.
So what kind of relationship do you think they should have?
I think they could be like, I mean, because they're older, especially now. I feel like I kind of like I don't know, like I feel like they should just be our traditional family. You know what I mean? Like a
totally
regular traditional family. Maybe one of them's got like heart problems. The other one's got.
What if they had a child? And I keep hitting on this drum, but what if they have lost a child? Because we need to have them. They have to have, like, I feel like they should understand loss, at least in some way, so that they can actually their characters can be better equipped to deal with the situation.
Well, maybe they had a,
or like a sister or a brother or something.
Well, no, maybe they had like a child and it died, or like in their like 30s or something like that.
Yes,
from like a car accident or something. Just like backstory.
And let's say she's still partly haunted by it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's going to affect her decisions as the story progresses.
Yeah, and it would be cool to see each of the characters, like Sherise, the one that had the estranged family, sort of having them flash back to arguments and then good times as they're like dying and shit, like stuff like that.
Totally. And I think that maybe even Sherise and Pounder's character could develop almost like a mother-daughter relationship, quasi mother-daughter relationship. And there, it's like Pounder wants to take care of her, and Sherise is just fucked up after seeing what she's seen.
Right. I think their names should be Abraham and Chelsea.
Abraham and Chelsea. That sounds good to me, man. Abraham, Chelsea, Sherise, and
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah. And and I think that would be really fucking interesting.
Yeah.
And he could have like heart problems, and he has to have his pills. Like he has to have them cyclically.
Yeah. Okay.
Or else he can experience a severe atypical arrhythmia or something like that.
He seems like his character would be someone that would sacrifice himself for the greater good.
Yes, but inadvertently, almost. Like, it wasn't like his plan, but it happened. And during that moment, he's like, get the fuck out. Something like that.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
he's a hero moment.
Yeah. Or like maybe he's having these heart palpitations and these issues, and he's like having a hard time standing. And it's because like he had to deal with somebody. You know what I mean? He had to deal with someone like violently, and it triggered this attack. And since he didn't have his pills, and there was like, say, 3 more coming who were looking to loot or whatever. And he's telling them to get out, and this old man dies fighting them off. Like his heart just gives out. You know what I mean? Like something like that, And again, very brutal. Brutal.
So how do you think these three, so like obviously in the beginning of the movie we're going to be going through like her going to the parties and like all this stuff over the course of like,
I'm thinking that Chelsea, actually Sherise, growing up with her family, like she knew the family with Chelsea and what's his name?
Abraham.
So I'm going to type these out. So Abraham.
Well, maybe they don't even get along well. What if that's
No, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Sherise, there we go, and Jeremiah.
Could be their neighbor.
I'm thinking, yeah, they were like they lived on the same street. Let's say they lived like a few houses up, but Sherise knew them. In fact, she was kind of nervous because after Chelsea and Abraham lost their kid, Chelsea always kind of had a impatience for children because it was always like, that's not my baby. You know what I mean? It's kind of like an annoyance. Right. And because of that, Sherise kind of learned to almost be intimidated of her and would always avoid her.
Right.
Ever since she had maybe an experience when she was younger where she like maybe bumped her bike into Chelsea's car who was backing up. And because Chelsea's child, maybe they died something like that, something similar. Like, you know what I mean? Like got hit by a car or something. And because of that, Chelsea's reaction was so much stronger towards young Sherise that left an impression on her.
It kind of makes the whole thing dynamic because like if they have like this past aggression with everybody has these weird like, you know,
yeah,
in between.
It's an aggression, but it's also like a, you know, not understanding. Like, you know, and Chelsea actually regretted that, but didn't really know how to deal with it. And like, she's a child, she'll move on, she'll live, she'll forget. Okay. And Sherise is like, you know, always kind of harbored this like, oh, she's a mean lady. You know what I mean? And so don't want to fuck with her kind of thing. Always gave her a wide berth. But in this situation, after things go so fuckward so fast, Sherise ends up being, I guess, you know, I wouldn't say saved, but brought in by Abraham and Chelsea after the occurrence. And this is what was like the catalyst for them to connect and realize that they could develop a stronger bond over time.
Right.
You know
like they have to connect in order to help survive. Like it's one of those things. Yeah, that's cool.
Exactly. And I'm also thinking that Jeremiah, this is just something I want to put out there. I don't think Jeremiah is going to have a happy ending. I don't think he's going to end up being self-sacrificing or saving anybody. What if Jeremiah goes to the end of the fucking goddamn story and he actually ends up becoming like his father? You know what I mean?
I like that. Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking with him because like that is too typical that he would be like the savior. I think
he's going to save them all. No,
there's going to be like an integral, like pinpoint moment that like he just flips on a dime. Yeah, because his survival is the, you know, self-sacrifice of not self-sacrifice, but like not worrying about anybody else. Like
he has to give up on who he was and become who he thinks he should be for his dad.
Right.
And it's going to he's basically selling his soul to the devil. He's losing touch with who he is. And it's a very powerful moment because I think I think that we should have at some point in the movie have a moment where Jeremiah is staring face to face with Sherise, or maybe someone like Sherise, maybe a character. Okay, maybe Chelsea, someone, a main character. And Jeremiah is standing there with his flamethrower, and he has them cornered. And his dad has since passed on from whatever. In fact, maybe Jeremiah had to kill his own dad, something like that. And you can see a moment that this person's saying, you know, maybe they got to know Jeremiah a little bit at some point, somehow.
Yeah, his dad hands. I picture like his dad Jeremiah's dad handing him the
something
gun.
Like that. And
go
and,
ahead,
and
son.
This person saying,
you got to do what you got to do.
Jeremiah, you're not like this. This isn't you. And Jeremiah is looking at them. You can see almost a moment where Jeremiah looks like he's going to turn on his dad, but he doesn't. He torches the person. You know what I mean? Like it's like this sudden shift. Like you want to surprise the viewer with like, oh, they think it's going to go one way, but it's not. You know what I mean?
Like he'll be pushing back against his dad for a while and then it just snaps the opposite way.
Yeah, you want your audience to go, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like get caught off guard. And I think that would actually be a very powerful way to end the movie, actually. It sticks in their minds, pisses them off a little bit. You know what I mean? They're like, oh. But it's not like a negative experience.
Well, we also forgot another angle of this is the cultists, the people who are
absolutely, and we should touch on that. But I'm thinking, as far as like just a little bit of a nuance I view it from is that in Jeremiah, even though he torches Chelsea or Sherise or whatever it ends up being, but even though he does do it, let's say maybe his dad's already infected and is slowly dying in the background, so that gives you a bit of a peace of mind that motherfucker's going down. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Jeremiah ends up doing that, but you don't feel malice towards him as the credits roll. If anything, you feel pity because this is what he has become. You know what I mean? Like it's not a good experience. His life is going to be terrible. You know what I mean?
I got an idea now. I have it perfect. Yeah. I think I have it laid out.
Okay, what's up?
So I got a name for the cult leader-ish kind of guy. He's not going to be like the main protagonist, I would say, you know what I mean? But he will definitely be something where the two groups and Jeremiah have to team up, unfortunately. Like, all these people have had to team up.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that whole...
Because the cultists are so fucking dangerous.
Right. Like,
You know,
like,
and maybe that's how Jeremiah's dad gets the fucking infection. Or
right. You got Sherise, Abraham, and Chelsea, who are all together, and like, they're on one side. You got Jeremiah on the other side. You think he's on their side. And then I have Lathander Cross. I think we should that's a weird.
That should be the cultist.
Yes.
Lathander Cross. Totally. That's dope. Yeah, I like that.
And here's the thing. Now, like, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit here, guys, but we'll fill it in with some kills and shit like that and like stuff. But like, so I
We've already
think
gone over a child getting torched. So, you know, we're good.
I feel like Lathander. So I feel like Lathander Cross is like this. I don't know what kind of style he would be. Like, would he have an accent, or would he be more gothy, or you know what I mean? Like real like cryptic-y kind of guy.
Lathander actually could very well be. Let's say he's actually a guy who recently moved to America from Europe, and he's actually been living there for like maybe 2 years. So he still has kind of a thick accent,
like a European accent.
Yes, but it's hard to tell because a large chunk of his face is missing, right, from the disease. But like he has a, you know, and they see it as you know, they can even call it like the kiss of light is what they'll call it, the kiss of light. And that's when they'll kiss someone to give them the gift. That's how they see it. And so the way they will attack people is they'll like rush in, hold them down, and then they'll have the chosen who gives the kiss of light to the choosee. You know what I mean? And like it's this like a ritualistic thing that normally those among their cult accept willingly. Right.
Like they it's kind of like a thing of honor for those people who follow him. Is like to be able to be accepted into it. And those who fight against it, he gets really wickedly fucked up about.
And you can even have a point, like talking about that tinnitus like effect that we're talking about that they can hear. We could have a moment, like a conversation between Lathander and say, you know, someone he's going to be inducting to the cult. Okay. And someone has already has the infection, and they're already like actually picture like a woman. She's sitting there and a chunk of her lip is missing, and she's just like she's reading a book quietly by candlelight. Lathander comes in and they're talking quietly, and Lathander, you know, there's a bit of an awkward silence. She closes the book and just kind of staring at the wall, and Lathander goes, "Can you hear the music yet?" Something like that. Or "Can you hear the whispers yet?" Something like that. And she's like, "I hear them in the distance, but not yet." And he goes, "Okay, well then you've been chosen, but in time you will hear his voice so much clearer." And she goes, you know, what does it sound like? And she looks almost scared. He goes, "Oh child, don't be scared." And he comes closer and he says something fucking creepy, like, you know, "When you can hear his voice, you will know his will." And then he'll say like, you know, and then he'll like, like, you know, at the end of the conversation, she goes, you know, yes, Lathander, or something like that. And he goes, he says something like, "Go with light," or something like that. And he reaches up into the wound of his mouth and pulls out this like pus, this like gross pus, and anoints her with it. Right.
Like the fucking, the flesh of Christ.
Yeah,
sort of thing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
That's really.
I'm thinking to elaborate on his.
May I anoint you with life.
Yeah, exactly. Like you know, like here, you know, go with the light or something. Like a light is how because their face is like degenerating, and they're experiencing actually some macular degeneration due to the disease. Their eyes are starting to go, and so they'll see, instead of, it's not like black. Their vision isn't going black. It's actually like brightening up. It makes it harder for them to see. You know what I mean? It's like whiteout almost. And so they talk about seeing the light and things like that. You know what I mean? Like that's like to them. But I love the idea that the story progresses in a way that both explanations for this disease make sense. Either A, it is a gift from some kind of deity, or B, it's just a disease and you can't tell. You know what I mean? Like, I want to play on that where like the viewer's like, wait, what the fuck was that? You know what I mean?
Well, Sherise may be the one that might say something like, you know, we've done nothing but stared at our phones, lived our lives online, and this whole time the world around us is falling apart. You know, something like that.
Yeah, like something like, we've spent so much time. Oh, this is where we can touch on something eldritch in there. You can even say, like, there's a moment where, like, Lathander is, like, talking to Sherise or somebody he'll be speaking to. Somebody who's not of the cause. Someone's not of his cult. Let's say someone says, well, if your God is real, why have they come? Why have they come now? And why are they showing themselves now? And Lathander says, to touch on what you said, he's like, we've been sending signals out into space, calling out into the abyss. And he goes, is it so hard to believe that eventually the abyss would call back? Or something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, yeah.
And then he could say something like, and the abyss is dark, but if you dig deep enough into the darkness of the abyss, eventually it is just as bright as the brightest light itself. Something like that. And that's where it comes, the whole idea, like, given to the light. You know what I mean? And it's like this eldritch curse, like, actually, like, it's like this gift from an old god of some form. You know what I mean?
You know what I also like too is, like, what if Lathander has, like, this girl that's kind of like, he's kind of in some culty way has, like, made her become, part of the cult, semi unwillingly. Like, she was just charmed by him, but then it turned sour and she didn't really understand. So, like, she's, like, falling apart before him faster, because some people will fucking deteriorate faster.
Yeah, because her doubt is, like, making the disease
right
not beneficial
and she,
anymore
like,
now.
loses an eye, and Lathander at one point in time is like, oh, my dear, don't cry. He's like, you've just made a donation for the God beyond.
Don't cry, my dear. This is a donation to our God. All will reveal itself in due time, my sweet love.
And what if something twisted can happen too? Something twisted later to that same girl that he has, like, she's like his prized sheep or something, of his cult. And, like, she's degrading, and over time Lathander eventually decides. But he does it quietly. You don't really see the moment he decides, but he decides that she no longer is walking within the light because she's deteriorating. She no longer believes. You know what I mean? She's no longer part of his flock. So out of nowhere, Lathander would, like, strike her down in some way in front of the characters to show how vicious he can be. You know what I mean?
He does something to, like, slit her throat open and spray the blood over people to infect them.
Absolutely. He could say something like, my child, your faith has vanished, but you still have use to you. You have one final job. And then there she is crying, and she's like, okay, I'll do whatever it takes. I want my faith back. And he goes, yes, and you will have it. You will see the light once more. And he walks behind her and then slaps
playing with her hair or something.
And then, then he drapes her, like, he, like, forces her, like, she's, like, flailing around because she's still conscious and bleeding, but, like, he's, like, holding her and, like, draping her body over top of our characters who are bound at the time. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe Jeremiah's dad is one of the bound, and he actually ends up dumping her blood all over Jeremiah, and that's or not Jeremiah, or all over his dad.
Now drink from her blood. Become one with the light. He has bestowed his light upon you.
That's that moment where he was like, he has with his son, Jeremiah has with his dad, the leader of the
and
what
Jeremiah's
do they call it?
Dad.
What do we call those groups?
Because we can call the group the followers of the light, even
the cleansing or something,
or something like that. Something like you mean the group who burns people?
Yes.
We can even go with, like, a name that's actually so mundane to kind of push forth
firefighters.
To kind of push forth the idea that they are not. They believe this is a disease. This isn't a curse or a gift or anything.
What about the Lathander Cross? Their group will be called the Cleansing. It sounds like
I like that, because then their belief can follow in line with that. The rot and the pestilence is the cleanser.
Right. That it's not to be scared. Don't be scared of the...
this is a beautiful thing, and if you accept his gifts readily, they will not harm you, but those who are not followers of the way and of the light will die by the droves, and that is his plan. It's like their rapture. You know what I mean? Except it's an elder god that's fucking with humanity.
That's pretty cool. I like this. I think it'd be good, though, that you do not know about this, like, elder god and it being true.
I want to imply that it's an elder god, but never actually say it. I want people to after play with the idea and be like, well, let's dig into it and try to figure out what the origin is of this. Like, what is it really? You know what I mean? Speculation is the key to success when it comes to stories like that.
Like you see like a creature in the background, like in the sky. I don't know. It was always tentacles or something in fucking
or you can even have
Lovecraft.
something like when Lathander has the girl, she's like finally like most of the blood's leaving her. Like it's not gushing out anymore. It's kind of just like slowly pouring, but she's still a bit there. He has his hand around her forehead, right? Like he's holding her by her forehead, and he has his other arm wrapped around her arms because she's like smaller, so he can like just drape her like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then he lets go of her torso, but he still has his hand on her head, tilting her head back, for the blood and stuff, right? And then you can see her eyes like are looking up, and he goes, "Do you see him now, child?" And then you see from her point of view, and you see like this pulsating image of like bright light, but then within that light, you see these fucking tendrils moving around as if you were seeing a giant Humboldt squid underwater. But that's the kind of like the imagery, the similarity.
Yeah.
And then you see that, but then you see her eyes fade and her eyes close, and he lets her go, and he goes, "And now she's with the light." And but then you hear the shrieking of Jeremiah's dad, who now realizes he has the infection, and he's just shrieking, like losing his fucking mind because like this is his ultimate fear. You know what I mean? And Lathander's just smiling, like as if he's completely unaffected. Like fucking, I'm talking the same kind of psychotic looking level as the Westboro Baptist Church people.
Yeah. So now that we kind of have like some milestones throughout the story, now we got to bring it all together. I really do like I like the fact that Jeremiah, what's his dad's name?
Yeah, let's call it his dad. His dad's name is Adam. Let's say their last name is Adam and Jeremiah.
Too biblically. Yeah.
Well, exactly. That's their family's upbringing, but it's like
Americana.
Jeremiah and Adam.
Yeah, last name would be
Rickle. That could work. Like that's their last name, but it's never really mentioned that much. It's just that that's part of their last name. Like,
okay, so we got them. They are with the firefighters.
Oh,
and
actually,
maybe his father is an actual firefighter. And like they decide to take it into their own hands, and you think of like firefighters as like these like heroes and shit like that. So in their minds,
they're firefighters.
Yeah,
they're totally.
And like I feel like in the movie, at least when it gets to the height of like craziness at the end of the movie, there's like literally piles of bodies being burned in the middle of the fucking like intersection of streets and shit, where people are just dumping their body, like executing people,
of charred corpses and people scream, people still alive being thrown on a pile of burning bodies. Like you have people in like these, I don't want to call them hazmat suits, but they're like makeshift suits. Like they've taken tarpaulin and shit and made their own custom like sterilization suits, and they're like throwing people on the fires and stuff like that. And
they just wear trash bags.
Yeah, and you have guys off to the side with like thermal blanket looking things, and they have the flamethrowers. They're all the flamethrowers will look like some of them look the same, but most of them will look different. Like they're all homemade, and they'll have like actual like big propane tanks. These guys are standing there just torching the pile, and people are being thrown on it. And like, but there's like situations where like there can even be a clip where there's some guy standing nearby with rifles, and there's this like woman screaming, and these guys are dragging her, and she's missing portions of her face and her neck, and they're taking her, they throw her on the pile, but then she gets back up and tries to run away from the pile, but she's on fire, and then you hear a gunshot ring out, like a realistic gunshot, and then she fucking falls and she's groaning, and you can see blood starting to dump out of her chest. They come back, they grab her, and they throw her back in the pile, and now she's doing that arm swaying thing that people do when the blood's leaving their brain, and then they torture, and like and it's this horrible fucking sight to behold. Drive the point home that all these bodies here have died horribly. Like this is not like a regular, they're dead, now we burn them. No, it's like these people are getting burned on the spot, So
I think it would be kind of interesting too. Like everybody just thinks Lathander Cross is just this crazy guy who's just lost his purpose in life and decided to become some fucking god or whatever the fuck it is. But by the end of the movie, like I feel like, so we have Abraham and Chelsea, the old couple, Sherise, and those three together all join forces. But because of Lathander Cross coming in between Jeremiah and Adam, his father.
Let's say their last name is Thompson. Let's not go Rickle.
Thompson, okay.
Much more basic. You know what I mean? Adam and Jeremiah Thompson.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, continue. Yeah.
So, like, Adam and Jeremiah Thompson, who are the firefighters, who are actually burning people to try to stop the disease from spreading, they have to team up with Sherise Abraham and Chelsea to stop Lathander Cross. But I think in some way they do get Lathander Cross by the end of the movie somehow. Some cool way they get to him. And by the time he's dying, he's like, I've become the ultimate sacrifice.
Totally. And he's like, he's welcoming it. He doesn't even like, he doesn't care.
He's like, this was foretold to me in a dream.
You don't want his death to be satisfying for the viewer because you want him to be so delusional and so maybe not delusional, obviously, but so deep
seemingly
in his stuff. Yeah, seemingly. You can't tell, right? But he's so seemingly delusional that he's untouchable. You can't cause him fear. He has none left.
Because he has the faith in his Dark Lord.
Yeah, exactly. His Dark Lord so deep in the abyss, he is made of light. Like, it's like fucking weird.
It's like, how do you stop a person that believes in this so much? And it's like, there is no reasoning with that kind of individual. There is no fear to be shed upon them. You know what I mean?
There's nothing more dangerous than a resourceful madman.
Right.
It's like, you know. Yeah.
And
totally.
I think it would be interesting, like, if they kill him. How would they kill him, by the way? Like, how do you think they get through some of his minions? Like, I feel like he needs to die slowly for them to feel like liberated. He's like, yeah, what are you gonna fucking do now? They're like, you know, like Jeremiah dies somehow, and like I think it's like Sherise and like Chelsea who are left, and like they're like standing over his body as he's slowly dying.
Oh, what if
you have no idea I've become the ultimate sacrifice. This is
like what if his body emits a vapor or something like that?
I think they should just turn around. And that's when you see this huge hulking fucking creature of some sort.
Or you see the clouds parting, like up above, like something so massive. And you hear this rumbling roar in the distance, like kind of like a, you know, whatever, something fucked up.
Yeah, like they turn around and they see that. And that's literally the end of the movie.
This was all planned.
Okay. What the fuck?
Totally. And maybe the death of Abraham is when Jeremiah ends up killing Abraham. What if that's what we have for that clip?
I think he should be. I think Abraham should be something before that to help them get to Xander.
So we're gonna need a character to exemplify Jeremiah's loss of humanity. You know what I mean? We need someone to bite it. You know what I mean?
Wait, Jeremiah,
because remember, there's going to be a point where, you know, his dad, infected, is like telling him, you have to fucking torch this motherfucker, somebody. And Jeremiah is looking as if he's not going to do it, looking as if he's, you know, that's not who he is. The person knows who he is. So they're saying, oh, this isn't who you are, blah, blah. And it looks for a moment like Jeremiah is going to turn the flamethrower on his dad, but ends up torching this person. And I'm thinking it should be a main character that people actually go, what the fuck about.
So but I think that, you know, here's what I got an idea of. So Jeremiah has to torch maybe like it's his priest or something, like his family's like Baptist church fucking, you know.
Totally. You know what? And this priest, we should, you know, preliminarily build that this priest has been more of a father to Jeremiah than his father and than Adam has ever been. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so he's closer to this priest, and this priest is saying to him, Jeremiah, this is not who you are, and whatever. And his dad's like, he's infected, but his father's also infected. You know what I mean? That's why it's gonna be kind of an aggravating scene.
Right.
But that's gonna be the point, you know?
Well,
and, I think that'd be good.
I think the way it should be is that his father isn't affected yet, but then becomes infected later, but because he's killing indiscriminately, if they're infected, then it comes time that he has to kill his own dad as well. And you know what I mean? But he does kill
from the girl's blood. Yeah, right. From the girl's blood's been dumped on.
There you go. That's where Adam gets fucking taken out. He sprays it all over his dad's face. Like it's pretty bad.
Lathander just dumps her on dumps the blood on him, and then like Adam's losing his mind, like shrieking like a fucking psychopath because this is a horrible experience. And when the group finally escapes, Jeremiah somehow, and I'm thinking primitively, like doesn't use a flamethrower, but primitively sets his dad on fire. You know what I mean? Like he actually like uses gasoline or like.
I think he should shoot him first, though, just as like an act of, you know, human kindness. Yeah, because you wouldn't want your family to just die in a fire.
Well, totally, but like again, it's like you want this to be like the most fucking twisted hard. Like, what if he doesn't have a gun available? Like, what if he's just like his dad's and he thinks, okay, well, don't worry, you won't feel the fire. And his dad's like, no, Jeremiah, don't. He's like, don't worry, Dad, you'll be asleep when it happens. And he like uses like a 2x4 that's a part of this dilapidated church this cult was held up in.
I got it. I think he should just smash his head on the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it works.
He's like, go ahead, son. I love you.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing good by me and the Lord, you know, like whatever. Yeah. And then he's like smashing his head over and over as he's screaming.
Yeah.
And then he burns his body, like, and that's when
and what if something else? What if after he burns his body, he's like standing there, like breathing heavily, like, you know, after it's all over, right? And then Jeremiah looks down at his hands and it sees his dad's blood and like this green pustulous fluid on his hands. And he actually sees a sore start to blister up on his hand. Ooh. And then it pans to Sherise and Chelsea, who invariably will then see the arrival of this elder god in the sacrifice of Lathander Cross.
Right.
Yeah.
So we still need to figure out two things.
Yeah.
So Abraham, who is Chelsea's husband, the old couple.
Yes.
He sacrifices himself in a fight with the firefighters, I think.
Yes, I'm thinking so.
Like he slams into a group of them that are trying to take out them. He gets in his car. He's having a heart attack. He gets in a car.
Screaming. Yeah.
He gets in the car, smashes into a bunch of them, and they just set the car on fire. It explodes.
Yeah.
And totally. They get away. Yeah. See what I'm saying? And then
let's say he takes out a few though with running them over.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Like, he'll be like, fucking.
You can actually see one guy's like chest cave in from the wheels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or like one just like it just cuts his body in half when he slams into something, and it's like slides off the hood,
smears him. Yeah, like actually like there's still skin attached, and like his guts are kind of dumping. You can see the fat and everything just like smeared. Like it's not a clean cut. It's gross. Like he's basically been smashed in half. Like right. You know what I mean?
Like brutally. Packet. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go, motherfuckers.
So then, how does Jeremiah die with Lathander?
He isn't dead, and it doesn't say whether he's dead or alive. I'm thinking after he kills his father, like puts his father out, and he has his father's blood on his hands after he like berserk fucking smashed his dad's head in, right? And lit him on fire. He sees his hands. He sees these sores starting to pop up on his hands. He's already infected. Then the scene pans to Chelsea and Sherise, who have cornered Lathander. And Lathander is standing there. He has this like ritualistic dagger that he carries around everywhere. Let's say it's not like a traditional dagger. It's like made out of like pig bones. Like it's like this gross fucking diseased riddled thing. And he's standing there looking at them. And Sherise and Chelsea are like, they're not going to like try to run or anything. They're chasing him down. They want to put this guy down.
Right.
And they have him cornered in this one area of the church, like let's say near one of the stained glass windows, but it's cracked up a bit. Like you can see outside. You can see the light outside.
Okay.
And then Lathander, he's standing there with a knife, and let's say Sherise, she has the shotgun that was actually she grabbed it off the wall. It was Adam's shotgun when they were captured, and she has it, and she has it pointed right at him. And Lathander drops the gross fucking rib bone knife thing, and he puts his hands up like a prayer, not like traditional prayer, like he has like a weird, he's holding them strange, like you know what I mean, like something that's like part of his religion.
Okay.
And he looks up to the sky and he goes, "Lo, I have seen the light." And then she goes, "Not yet, motherfucker," or something like that. And she shoots him, and he falls back, and he just gets like it's a buckshot, so he gets fucked. Right? He's on the ground, and that's when he says, "I've made the ultimate sacrifice," and he dies. And then like you can see like a bit of this weird vapor kind of escapes from like some of his pores, and it's kind of weird. Next thing you hear this droning boom outside, and then the women open the door to see they hear like people screaming in the background and all this crazy shit going on. And then they look up above and these clouds are parting and this massive something, like you can't really make out what it is. There's some tendrils and you can hear this like droning, like a woo kind of thing.
What would be cool is if like when you see that, you see a helicopter before it slam into it.
Yeah, totally.
Like you know what I mean? And just like
horrific. It looks like action's about to go down and then boom. And it's like boom, credits. You know what I mean? Like that would be fucking tight. Yeah.
You just hear a scream in the background. Also, I was thinking of this too. For Jeremiah, what if like the way he dies is he gets mad because his father dies and he knows he's infected. What if he tries to pull the whole kamikaze bit, but it doesn't work?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then, so like Lathander he goes in there to fucking kill Lathander, like in some building, and somehow he like narrowly escapes, even though he's wounded. And that's when all the shit with fucking Chelsea and Sherise.
Yeah.
That you were talking about, where I think you said Chelsea shot.
Totally. And it leaves you wondering what happened to Jeremiah. You know what I mean? Like after he's clearly infected.
Well, no, I mean, he blows himself up.
Oh, he actually like kills himself.
Yeah, like he goes in there to fucking like take out Lathander, because it's just like it's beyond any help now. So this is like the most his life will have. This is his purpose.
Fucking last act. Yeah.
Right.
To try to eliminate this. Yeah.
So totally. Like I think it would be interesting, and if Lathander, like he definitely gets hurt, but he makes it out, and so it's like this big like. It's
almost like for naught kind of it's like a for naught moment, and Sherise and Chelsea take care of it.
Right.
Boom.
This was all planned.
Okay. What the fuck?
Credits roll, and then the name of the movie fucking comes into view, and it says Puddin Lips.
You know, for a movie that's called Puddin Lips, it has a pretty, elaborate story that we just made up in about an hour.
It sounds good, man. I would watch it, honestly. It sounds dope as fuck, and it's not just because we fucking thought it up. That sounds like a good movie.
I mean, now the one thing that we do have to come up with now is, you know how they have those taglines? You know,
like you're talking about like the trailer taglines,
just like on the cover, they're like, like no one can hear you scream in space.
Something like maybe along the lines of not all things can be purged with fire, or not all things can be purged.
Maybe something more about inevitability.
Inevitability could work. Yeah, like you could say like like I'm thinking something and like ominous and bizarre, you
right?
Know what I mean? Like really, like rot is inevitable, or like something like fucked. You know what I mean? Or
the dawn of rot.
The dawn of rot. Yeah, totally. Or pestilence. You can say the dawn of pestilence.
The dawn of pestilence. Yeah.
Or even say like disease or a gift.
That's a little too on the nose there.
Yeah, I know.
How about like something just like, stupid, like it's the end of the world as we know it.
And I feel fine.
And I feel fine.
Yeah, I think the only thing I know is like, overflow, population, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Spitting out, where's my mouth? Anything out of the mouth?
Literally.
Dude, I think it's a really good story. What do you guys think that are listening now? I mean, I know some of this is kind of hard to follow along with unless you really lock in, but that's why I try to add the sound effects and stuff to kind of like paint the picture for you guys as we're telling the story. Obviously we're not doing it live, but gives you guys a little bit. Was there anything that you guys would add or take away, or did we just totally fucking bomb on the fucking idea on certain things? Like, I want to hear from you guys in any of the comments on any of our shit below. So make sure you do that.
Also, feel free to contact us if you need concept designers for scripts.
Oh yeah, we have intellectual property rights over this concept.
Yeah, this is ours.
Right, names, story. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll suck money. It doesn't cost much. I'll suck your dick.
Yeah. We literally blowjob is currency for us here, so we will work with it.
And we enjoy. No.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. They're like, I was gonna hire them until they said that bit about the blowjob.
Until they told me to suck their dick, and now I don't want to.
Sound like some good old boys to me, huh?
Yeah. Now they want me to suck on their penis. That's gross. That's filthy.
So
blowjobs have no business in Hollywood.
And I gotta say, like, typically I'm going to attempt this, but there gets to a point. I usually try to make a trailer, like a faux trailer for all these movies that we come up with. And this one's gonna be something else. Okay, let me tell you. Like, I'm going to have to dig pretty deep, and I'm limited on some of the stuff that we talked about. So, I mean, it's going to take a lot of work, guys. So just, if I don't end up finishing the fucking trailer, just understand, like, we're not talking about like fucking an hour or two of work. This is like 5 hours of research to find the appropriate fucking clips, and like, you know, like 5 hours of fucking trying to piece it together or more. It could be like a 15-hour project.
There could be clips from, you can use all sorts of stuff, and it's definitely a fucking needle in a haystack situation.
The whole time we were like writing it out and saying it, I'm like, oh God, this is gonna be,
It's like, TryHard, stop.
Like, God damn it, TryHard, fucking stop. You've gone too far.
Yes. I'm not going to be done till I've bombed your whole podcast with my big boner.
So you got to tell them where they can find you, man. Like, where do they find you?
Yeah, just you got to go to YouTube and then type in TryHard Heroes, and that's it. And you will find me, and you will find my weird, obnoxious, fucked up content. And I hope you stop by, and we can talk about finger diddles. It'll be great.
And I'll post links, like I said, below. Legitimately, he is a very funny guy. I think if you guys like my humor, you'll definitely get into fucking TryHard shit. So definitely give him a follow, guys. So, but hey, man. Thank you so much for doing this, dude.
Yeah, no, I had fun, man. I love this kind of shit, dude.
Yeah, dude,
I love horror and movie plots. It's fucking
It's
great.
not easy. For some people, it's like fucking hard, and even for me.
You know what? I used to do this kind of shit when I was a kid. I had a childhood friend, and we would sit and conceptualize movies all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And like, we had these big dreams of becoming directors and making movies. So it's like second nature for me now. But it is a very big undertaking to kind of. It's like, where the fuck do you start? And like, it's always like literally start with the characters. That's always it, right? Like, you have to start with the characters, and once you flesh them out, the story basically writes itself out.
Right. Yeah, because then you just it starts opening up other doors and shit like that. So it's like,
like you're not creating a fucking story, really. You're creating people. You're creating personalities.
Right.
And then the story fits around them. And that's literally the art of coming up with movies. It's amazing.
And guys, we did this in like an hour or so, a little over an hour here. So you can imagine, like, if we had more time, we would flesh these out. So I always say that at the end for those of you that are like, well, why didn't you? It's like, dude, do you know how much we just spit out?
just literally within a short period of time, I think we've gotten a basic overview. Right. But I think it would be cool if people could, if you guys have ideas to flesh it out, as Alex said, and kind of work on, the intricacies, like the character interactions, the scenes of dialogue, things like that. If you're into that stuff, that would be really cool to flesh this out. Let's see what we can do with it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if we could make a movie like this, that would be amazing. But I would say that a minimum of like $20 million to do something that we're talking about.
This is a high budget idea. Like, it's none of this is like fucking film this in your parents' basement or garage. This is like some real shit.
We could always just get a child actor, burn them,
and it won't be real as far as anyone else is concerned, and it'll be great.
Well, we had to use a real person, so we didn't have the money not to.
Substitutes will not fucking work in this situation. Yeah, man.
Well,
but I had fun, man. This is awesome.
I appreciate it, man. It's been a lot of fun, dude. So, guys, check out the information below. We will be back next week. We're going to be doing Brightburn, so Brittany will be back for that, hopefully. But yeah, we're going to be doing Brightburn and doing a whole spoiler-free and then a spoiler section and talking about our thoughts and all that other shit. So you're going to want to tune in for that. But thanks for coming by, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Listening to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast.